Chapter 1: Introduction to User Authentication in Microservice Architecture. Ever pondered about the inner workings of user authentication in a microservice architecture? Today, we delve into the mechanics of this intricate process, breaking it down into bite-sized, easy-to-grasp steps, using a PHP backend for user authentication and a plain JavaScript frontend for user interaction. Chapter 2: Backend Setup for User Authentication. Imagine a backend, its primary role being to manage user registration, login, and authentication. Crafted in PHP, using Laravel as the torchbearer, and a database like MySQL or PostgreSQL, it serves as the backbone of our architecture. The backend is responsible for user registration and login, and it uses token-based authentication, like JWT or OAuth, to secure the user's session. Chapter 3: Frontend Design and Functionality. Moving on to the front end, the purpose here is to offer a user interface for registration and login. It is designed using plain JavaScript, without the use of any frameworks. HTML and CSS are the artists behind the creation of forms and UI elements, while Ajax serves as the messenger, bridging the gap between the backend APIs and the front end. The front end displays a registration form, sends the registration data to the backend, displays a login form, and authenticates users using tokens. Chapter 4: Interaction between backend and frontend. Now, let's explore the interaction between the backend and the frontend. The frontend sends registration and login data to the backend via AJAX requests. The backend, in turn, processes these requests, validates the credentials, and returns tokens for authenticated users. The frontend then stores this token, typically in local storage, for subsequent requests. Chapter 5: Recap and Realistic Considerations. To recap, we discussed a microservice architecture where a PHP backend handles user authentication, an independent plain JavaScript frontend facilitates user interaction, and how they interact with each other. Remember, this is a simplified example. In a realistic scenario, you would handle more features such as error handling, user sessions, and perhaps use a front-end framework like React or Vue.js for better organization and scalability. So, the next time you wonder about user authentication in a microservice architecture, remember this example. It's a world where PHP, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, Ajax, and JWTs work together to create a secure and user-friendly environment.